Hey everyone, welcome to episode 2 of Women Shaping the Future of Product and AI, where we talk leadership, strategies, and responsible AI. Today, in the episode, we are going to talk about building enterprise grade AI systems with Supreet Kaur. She is our leader in Gen AI Solutions Architect. She is one woman trailblazer. I know she's an international speaker. She is a patent holder. Recently, she has published a book on the AI optimization playbook, which you all must read. We will be sharing the link after the call. And she is our LinkedIn top voice. Welcome so much, Supreet. So glad to have you with us.
Thank you. That was such a nice introduction. Thank you.
Okay, just to kick off our discussion, we want to know, who are you really?
Ah, who I am really. I'm a very boring person, just to start with. My day and my nights, they're very, very structured. And AI for me is not a field that I do as a job. I am really passionate about learning this technology, something that I can spend my weekends learning, something which I can keep doing and I lose track of time. So for me, it's not just my job. It's something that I'm really passionate about to learn more. And it's almost like a well. The more you dive deep into this, the more you realize how less you know. So it's a very unique experience being in this field and learning. And second thing that I'm passionate about is speaking. So it's always good to talk about AI. It's always good to talk about my life in general outside AI. So pretty excited to share that as well. Yeah. So this is me in a nutshell.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, I was coming to the next. I think you partially covered. So,
Yeah.
beyond AI and technology, what motivates Supreet?
What motivates me? So I think just making a change in either someone's life or my customers' enterprise life is what motivates me. When a customer comes with a problem, I have an issue, is that I cannot sleep or I cannot do anything until I solve that issue. It's that's who I am. So I'm wired to solve problems. So that is something that inspires me. That is something that kind of keeps me going. And obviously, by solving customers' problem, you need to know the ins and outs of the technology. You need to know beyond whatever company you are working for. And that's why just knowing the scale of how things are moving, like what's happening outside, is very important to know. So that is what motivates me. And also, I think just apart from AI, I feel you can only operate in your professional life if you are
Mhm.
feeling healthy and personally energized. So I like to work out and keep a track of everything that I'm eating and what I'm doing, just because I feel like that's how I show up the best in my work, and even my brain can function properly.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much for being candid and sharing those insights. It's very crucial. And thanks for setting the bar. I think people are going to listen in and understand it is challenging, but it is fulfilling as well as you stay focused on your vision. That's so amazing. Uh, Before I go into your career as AI solutions architect and a women leader over there, I would love to understand what brought you here. I see you have a master's degree, and then you did become a subject matter expert on understanding the math behind these machines. So, what brought you into solution architect?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I sometimes feel that all my experiences led me to the moment of finding my dream role of a solutions architect. And basically, obviously, my career journey will cover it, but a little bit glimpse of what I mean by that. I started my career as a data scientist. So, quote unquote, I was building forecasting models within the healthcare system. Then I worked extensively on the data side as well, building data pipelines. And I always say doing machine learning is baking a cake. So, unless you have
Uh-huh.
all the ingredients in place, like the eggs, the butter, the flour, your cake is not going to taste well. So, no data scientist can operate without having a robust data system, which is your ingredients for the cake. So I worked extensively on that as well during my healthcare days, during my consulting days at ZS, which did lay out a strong foundation for AI and machine learning in general in my career. Then at Morgan Stanley, I got to experience the other spectrum is when you have internal customers, which were wealth advisors for me, financial advisors. How do you operate with them? How do you build a product internally that is most meaningful for them? And that is how I built the large scale recommendation engine, got a patent for it. It was a very successful product. We got like 6 times net new assets by the launch of that product. So I consider that as a huge success. So that kind of laid out the foundation of a solutions architect role, which is advocating for your customers, which is building for your customers, listening to their requirements and designing the scalable, secure architecture as well as solution for them. So in a way, I was preparing for it without even knowing that I was preparing for it. But after Morgan Stanley, I was at a point in my career where I was very confused what I need to do next. I had done a couple of things, but I did not know what next step means. So one day I just reached out to a few solutions architect, and it just popped on my feed like someone had posted life of a solutions architect. I reached out to this person. She was a Google solutions architect, and I asked her for a 20-minute call. She hopped on, and the way she described her role seemed very exciting. And then she heard me, and she was like, Supreet, you're all prepared for the role. Just go ahead, and this role is the right fit for you. And somehow she was right, an angel in my life. I started focusing on building whatever skill was missing in my resume, which was that system design thinking. I started doing that, and then Microsoft reached out with the solutions architect role. So it was like universe was preparing me for this role. And once I was able to get into Microsoft, that is where my solutions architect journey started. I really fell in love with the role, and now at AWS, I'm same role, senior GenAI solutions architect.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I do love your analogy around cake and baking. And I see where you're coming from, because unless until you have all the ingredients, the end product won't be good. So you cannot compromise when you are planning the architecture and layers around it. Wonderful, wonderful. So you have worked at so many companies.
Yeah.
Tell me, from your perspective, there is no right or wrong, but what are companies getting wrong about generative AI? There is a lot of noise, lot of uh, uh, false news. There is a lot of pressure to perform. So, what are companies getting wrong in your viewpoint for generative AI?
So I'll tell you top two, top three, maybe. Let's see. So first is companies are trying to follow a blueprint that does not exist. It's almost like a person who wants to learn Gen AI and they ask me for, do you have a curriculum for it? Do you have a syllabus for it? So it's a field where either you're trying to learn it or you're trying to implement it. You cannot do that by a certain blueprint. Yes, there are best practices that exist that you can follow, but you have to have a little bit appetite for failure and risk in this evolving field. So the companies who are able to build that appetite, even though they are strictly regulated, like banks, healthcare, have that mindset, they are able to do really well. And I have experienced it firsthand, right? I worked with banks at Microsoft, and I've worked with like 70 or 80 customers in large scale banking, small scale banking. So I know that companies are doing this. So that is one, just in terms of the mindset. And just the second is whenever someone starts building a Gen AI solutions, they think about the evaluation and the observability as the last segment. Generally, it has to be the first thing you think about, not the last. So as you are deciding
Interesting.
my use cases, what do I need to build? You have to think there and then. How am I going to evaluate and what good would look like? That's the first question I ask my customers. What does good look like for you? And at that time, because I want to force them to think, envision, what do you want out of this product? Because if your vision is, oh, I just want to automate this process, that's not a vision. right? You need to have
Absolutely. Yeah.
place, you need to have a mechanism in place. So those would be my top two, I think, which are most relevant for organizations.
Wonderful, wonderful. You already answered my question. I was curious to know what all use cases are creating measurable value today. And that is where a lot of companies are getting it wrong in the pressure of performing with AI and investment around AI.
Yeah,
Not everything needs automation, not everything needs to be absorbed into AI. We still have to understand that the users are real human beings for whom we are creating these solutions. If they cannot adapt, understand, and take forward, we have a gap. Yeah,
yeah.
thank you. You covered it beautifully. I Next topic is close to my heart, and I am a women advocate and women in AI, and especially looking at inclusive systems in 2026. Who is missing from today's AI conversations from your point of view?
I think from the time that I started, which was back in 2019, I feel
Mhm.
things just in terms of diversity, it's getting better, right? I'm not saying we are there yet,
Yeah,
but it is
yeah.
definitely getting better. Specifically, I see a gap when I meet founders because now I work with startups. I do meet a lot of male founders, right? So I still don't see a lot of female founders, especially who are running all of these AI builder companies or AI influencing companies or just the next generation AI companies. So I do see that as a gap, and that, I mean, that could be linked to, a million other factors, but I would love to see
Mhm.
that happening. But just in terms of something that I used to observe, when you are thinking about an AI system specifically for your end user, the inclusivity matters a lot, because if it doesn't serve, one set of customers, you have already lost it. Right?
Yeah.
So that is definitely changing. The user profile and the way companies are benchmarking for different users, they
Mhm.
are very mindful that they are including women and other diverse groups as well,
Yeah.
just to make their product cater to everyone, right? These are not e-commerce products, right? Mind you, these are AI systems. These are credit card modeling systems, like
Yeah.
things like that, right? So definitely it's getting better, but yeah, would love to see some female founders.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I would say a few years back in my first founding startup, I was the only fractional woman CTO
Yeah.
breaking down RAG, and I sensed that discomfort around me, that understanding around me, and that less of acceptance around me, where I was questioned about everything. Are you sure you're doing this right? Do you know what
Yeah.
you're doing? So I see, and I think your insight is so valuable, especially when you're deep rooted into the systems. Uh, this clearly needs and demands for future inclusion, more inclusion. I would say how we are improvising and improving AI tools, not what is already fed into it, but how we are improving on it. That is more important. Beautiful. Be-
I would also add something to that, right? And this, I'm talking
Mhm.
from a personal experience. When I started my career, even if sometimes I was the only woman in the room, sometimes, a few other women, but a male dominated room. And I would not speak because I was so intimidated by just the other people. And I had this fear of judgment, right? Like, oh, they will think, what do I know? I just came in yesterday. Like, what do I
Yeah.
know? I graduated yesterday. So things like that. And I feel like by my third or fourth switch, I was able to change my mindset and kind of lay that wall down. And so I think it also falls upon us as women, and because we are more
Mhm.
hesitant, we are more prone to judging ourselves harsher than the world does. So it's sometimes about, okay, like, so what, right? Like, have
Yeah.
the confidence of, anyone you inspire to be. Just have the confidence, and it's okay to be wrong, and it's okay to be misconstrued as, not knowing enough. That's fine, but you need to have that growth mindset, and you would never have that unless you speak in rooms that intimidate you.
Beautiful. Beautiful. That must go out. And with that thought, I was about to ask you all the role that women play in shaping the future of tech, corporate, anything in STEM. What concerns you most about next generation of AI systems, including diversity? I'm not going to
Yeah.
stay focused on women alone because I see it needs to be matured now. So, what concerns you most?
Uh, so in general about AI
Mhm.
systems, definitely security is the primary kind of concern. As a principle of a solutions architect, we always say security is our principle zero. It's our task zero. So
Mhm.
it's not even in the list because this is how we need to start with security and end with security. So building secure systems, specifically the issue is when you're building autonomous agents, obviously you want
Mhm.
give the autonomy to the agents, but there has to be some kind of a fallback mechanism, some kind of a telemetry for you to see what your systems are doing, specifically if this is your first launch or something that you're building from scratch, just so if something unfortunate happens, you
Mhm.
know where the agent went wrong. So it's a learning curve for you, and you're able to kind of map out that trajectory. So that is one thing. And that's why I said like companies think about evaluation and observability as the last principle, even though it should be the
Mhm.
first principle.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well said, actually. Uh, if Supreet wants to give advice to herself when she was 15, and all the girls in high school today watching and getting inspired to join STEM, what would be your advice? Where would you start?
Um, Actually, two advice. One is your gender is not the limiting factor. Rather, that is what makes you super unique. Women brains are wired to do much more than what any species can do. We are best at multitasking, and there is research now which you can go and reference. So you can achieve anything that you would like if you put your mind to it and be disciplined. At 15, there is always this feeling of, oh, I want to be popular, I want to be popular within my friends, I want to and these days be on Instagram, be on TikTok. Even though all that matters, once you are able to achieve your goals, fame will follow. Right, I was that kid. I was the kid who kind of no one really spoke to. I was into studies a lot, so right, like I was never into my looks. I was 40 pounds heavier, I was dark, right? So I didn't have a lot of friends because I was focused on this one thing, which was to make life for myself. So it's okay. It's okay to let everything go at that point in time and just focus on your goals. Rest, everything will follow. So your real glow up will be when you earn and make a lot of money. So that is fine. So stop chasing, I would say the instant gratification and work towards the bigger goals.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, all the girls listening to this episode, I want to tell you how to build your resilience. Please listen to what Supreet is sharing, read her journey, follow her. And these lessons are even more important that we wish somebody would have taught us.
Yeah.
And Supreet, thanks for becoming and being that leader available so that girls can get inspired and look toward. We need more women leaders and idols that girls can follow and not leave the STEM room just out of fear and stress. Wonderful, very beautifully said, I would say. Uh, one thing I want to know, what legacy do you hope to leave through your work? I have read what you're building in the background. We will come to it. But what legacy do you hope to leave?
So I'm very passionate about education on AI, and I just don't mean like the surface level education, because there are a lot more experts out there who can explain you like what is RAG, what is an agent. So I don't mean by that, but from all the learnings that I've been having as a solutions architect, I think those are gold mine on how to build these production ready systems. What is it that I'm learning? So at some point in time, I do want to either launch a course on that or write a book on that, or something that people can reference, right, just going forward. And I think that would be the legacy. Like I would like to be known for the person who simplified their life and also inspired them to be better, right? When people look at me, they see all of these job switches, and somewhere there's always this fear as an immigrant, like, am I supposed to do these many job switches? Like, what happens to my visa? What happens to other factors? Like, maybe I wouldn't be palpable to other HRs in future. Other recruiters would never reach out to me. So there's always that fear. So I feel just sharing my journey out there on LinkedIn, like just what I'm thinking, even beyond AI and what led me to where I am, kind of helps people see that even this path exists. It is scary, but it exists.
Wonderful. And thanks for owning that stage. I listen to you often. I read your posts, so inspiring. And becoming the top 10%, I believe, correct me if not, the LinkedIn top voice women, that is a strong stage to hold. So tell us a little bit about that journey.
So LinkedIn was basically my creative outlet. I was at a point in my career where even though everything was good on paper, I was just not feeling that my creative outlet was getting fulfilled. So I'm a person who loves to write, who loves to
Mhm.
express herself either through podcasts or just writing in general. So I was like, okay, which is the best outlet for me to let my creativity down? Second thing, I was always thinking that if someday I lose my job, unfortunately, what will Supreet be known for? Because is it okay, the Supreet that worked at Microsoft, Supreet that works at Amazon? I want to be
Yeah.
beyond that. Like, I want people to know Supreet as someone who is a thought leader in the space of AI. So, how do I build that brand outside all the companies that I've worked for? And that is how LinkedIn seemed to be the right platform. So I actually took a course on how to write on LinkedIn, and then I started writing these posts. And I started in 2022, and then 7 8 months later, after consistent effort, I actually got the top voice, and I've been maintaining it since then. So every year, LinkedIn again looks at your profile and sees if you still deem fit for that tag, and hopefully they have still been liking it. So yes.
Beautiful, beautiful. And with that, I will be moving into math and machines. So, your
Yeah.
recent post around math, would you like to share some insights with the audience, where you're coming from and why it is important?
Yeah. So as I think everyone can obviously see on my LinkedIn, but I do have a math background. I did bachelor's in math. And then when I was also going through my master's in a data science, there were heavy math subjects, right? And at that time, it almost seemed like counterintuitive. Why do I need to study this? But then later on, when I was getting deep into the weeds of Gen AI, just reading about BERT and reading just about other neural networks, like simple things like that, there is a huge math component on how each of these algorithms work. If you kind of look into the weeds, does everyone need it? No, but just
Mhm.
knowing the math behind it, knowing especially if you're just starting out in your career, knowing the inner workings kind of helps you stand out, because now you understand the algorithm more, even though I know Claude is going to code it for you. But just having that deep understanding can help you set apart, specifically if you are targeting roles like AI engineers or like a machine learning engineer, then this is inevitable. But even for roles like mine, right, like it's always a good thing to have that background and understand the inner working. So I am taking a session on September 18th. So if anyone is interested, they can sign up for that and attend Math for AI.
Beautiful, beautiful. And before we move to the next one, I would like to know, with AI coming into the picture, especially for new grads, it's becoming so much challenging. What advice would you give to anybody new entering in tech and AI today? You're close to the systems, you know the challenges. So, what that piece of advice would help them plan better?
I would say get into the builder's mindset. It is demos over memos, popular saying these days. you all can get a $20-$30 cloud subscription. I tell my brother the same thing, who is graduating in a few months. Get that subscription and get your hands dirty. Build something that is most meaningful to you at that point in time. Let's say, if you're a gym goer, build a health agent, right? Like, let's say you are into books, build that. Whatever is most meaningful to you, get into the weeds of things, build it, and then understand it. I think that's the part people miss. When I say build it, I just don't say give a prompt to Claude, build it, and put it into your Git repo. What I say is then understand the inner workings of when you build that product, what that look like. Once you have understood that, compare it with what else exists to do it. And just to give you an example, if you build an agent and you build it using Claude, it used, let's say, Strand's agent framework. See what other agentic frameworks are there. Could be LangChain. Then ask Claude, okay, if I were to do LangChain, how will this be different? Understand the differences between different agentic frameworks. Think about evaluation. Think about your data. Think about how would you deploy it in production. And almost have Claude as your partner, where you are challenging and where you are understanding the trade-offs. What would the other option look like? So you need to get into the weeds of things. And that's why I say do it for a product that you really like, or do it for something that matters to you, just because then it'll make you hooked to something that you are building.
Beautiful. This is really, I would say, important and expensive piece of advice, because it's coming hands on from industry and you are seeing these systems closely. So yeah, I'm a big fan of, like, you do not just vibe code because you felt like building something. Don't just build with AI because you want to see something work. Yeah, see something work, but also understand what these AIs built for you, because some of this code may be junk. Some of it gets obsolete so fast. As you are improvising on the logic, you may want to clean up those folders, and you need to know where it lives. So it's even more important. Cool. And tell us a little about your book, the AI Optimization Playbook, because I will be putting in our podcast the links where people can purchase it. So I see you have top 3 co-authors already on it. So please do share something about it.
Yes, the book journey actually comes out of the question that you asked earlier about legacy. There was so much happening in my brain, and I had all of these learnings, and I was obviously writing it in the form of LinkedIn posts, but I also had so many notes on things I was experiencing live, just building in healthcare, finance, different kinds of banks. So I wanted almost like a platform, I would say, or a way to share those learnings. And this is not, again, about, okay, what is machine learning? What is AI? What is RAG? No, we don't talk about that. We are giving you a playbook, almost a blueprint. And we are giving you as
Mhm.
close to what a blueprint could look like in this era on how do you get funding for your POCs? How do you create responsible AI systems? How do you go from RAG to fine tuning? And how do you choose between it? So it's a lot about trade-offs, designing, building scalable systems, failing and starting, because as all of us have experienced it in our professional lives, and we are putting that experience into this book.
Wonderful, wonderful. And folks, I will be sharing all these important links that you can go ahead and look up and see how it can help you shape your journey into technology and AI 2026 onwards, because a lot has already changed. Uh, as we are coming to closing, I would love to know your insights and your advice. Uh, what is there new after 2026 that you are seeing how tech is going to shape up? What is going to be dropped and what is going to be carried forward?
I'm really excited about physical AI aspect of things. I do see just in general companies coming up with surgical robots and obviously robots for delivery, but how things are becoming more sophisticated. It's always a challenge when you're building physical AI, just with the dexterity of hand. Like that's the first thing that companies are not able to capture. But with LLMs in place and how you can induce that knowledge into any physical AI and kind of build the robot that can solve a particular problem. I'm really curious and obviously looking forward to that realm of just equation. And I think just the second part is we have so many choices of LLMs. We have these larger models, smaller models. LLMs are commoditized at this point. So I think
Mm-hmm.
people stop focusing on the kind of LLMs that they're using and more on how to design the system and the other components, which are much more tricky to get in for an enterprise. So that should be the focus for 2026 and onwards.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, and when Supreet is not deep dive into math and machines, what is Supreet doing? Where do we can find you?
In the gym. I think that's where I spend a good like 90 minutes of my life. So the gym is one place. Second, if I'm not doing anything, like I love to go on long walks and just kind of listen to AI. And also I just like to listen on like health in general. So I would listen to like Mel Robbins podcasts and what is happening in the health industry, which new drug is getting launched and how is it impacting our bodies. So
Yeah,
things like that. That's like another passion that I have.
wonderful, wonderful. And where all our audiences can find you, what all social platforms you're available, and they can reach out for advice and motivation.
Best platform is LinkedIn. That's where I'm like the most active and I check like and it's times in a day. So LinkedIn would be the best platform to reach me.
Wonderful, wonderful. And any closing advice for everybody, Supreet?
Yes, I think we are almost in a phase in an era of AI where I understand and I know because I'm in the thick and thin. It's very scary. The change is happening super rapidly. We don't know what the future would look like. There is obviously the job insecurities and all the other
Mhm.
factors that are pertaining to it. But you will come on the other side, even if you just understand the technology a little bit and it impacts your life, how it will impact your life, how it will impact your job. So think of this as a reforming phase, a phase of reformation rather than a phase of replacement. And if you go with that mindset, you will see, okay, how can I get AI on the other side and what else can be done? And you will be less intimidated by this technology.
Awesome, awesome. With that closing and all the wonderful advice and wisdom we have in this session, I'm going to summarize for the audience in our short and long form post as well. And I will share Supreet's LinkedIn and book links as well. Please go ahead, support, read, and share your feedback. It's very important for authors to see what they should come up next for and how they can help you. And with that, Supreet, thank you so much. I know you're a very busy leader, so I really appreciate you taking time and talking to us today. And have a wonderful day ahead.
Thank you.